Hi everyone, my name is Zoe Clark. I'm an osteopath and I also have AS, and I've joined NASS during the COVID-19 outbreak to help provide lots of advice and support about managing your AS at home. So today the topic is all about studying with Axial SpA. So we're going to cover things right from school age through college, university, and even into further education in adulthood as well. So do let me know if you have any questions, and I'll come back and answer those at the end. I'll be chatting for around 15 minutes before then coming on to the questions. The video will remain on the page afterwards, so you'll be able to catch up on it later. And we're also publishing a blog post and some resources as well, which I'll link to in the video once we've published those. So we'll get started then. So one of the first things I'd like to start with is talking about travelling to or from the place where you're studying. This quite often can be quite difficult if you experience lots of fatigue and lots of pain, particularly with standing. So if you're travelling on public transport, obviously the most important thing is to ensure that you have a seat. So either with the bus company that you use, speaking to them to ensure you get a seat, or if you're on public transport, even speaking to the driver to make sure that you can get a seat. Plus, if you're travelling with friends, you can always ensure that someone can save you a seat if you need. If you're travelling in London on public transport, then do visit the TfL website and look at all their accessibility information, because they have lots of information available for that. And also you can order for free the Please Offer Me a Seat badge. So they send out a badge and a card, and it's quite subtle. You can just wear it on your clothing or put it on a bag. And essentially, if it's busy and there are no seats available, it's just a visual reminder to people to offer you a seat if you've got an invisible condition such as AS. So do look into ordering one of those if you do need it. And actually, if you do find that a whole day at school or at university is actually difficult for your AS and you experience lots of back pain and stiffness, then using the transport and the travelling to and from can actually be really helpful. So you can get off the bus a stop early, or whichever mode of transport you're using, get off a stop early and actually use that time walking and use that to loosen off before you go to school or on the way home. And that can actually be a part of getting exercise into your day as well. If you're driving to or from wherever you're studying, then one of the best things you can do is make sure that your seat is set up as comfortably as possible. So you want to make sure that you've got good support in your lower back, so you can either adjust the seat depending on what adjustments you can make in your car, but also you can use cushions. So you can use a cushion with a strap on it so you can secure it around the seat so it's not going to move at all. And it just provides a little bit of extra support in your lower back and can keep you a bit more upright and more comfortable. The other important thing to look at is the head restraint, so the cushion that sits behind the head. You want to make sure that it's the correct height, so it's not coming up too high or too low. And also you want to make sure that it's in quite a neutral position, so your head is nice and neutral. It's not coming forward to push your head forward, and it's not further back so that you end up just straining your neck looking backwards. That's important not only to keep your neck comfortable, but also for the safety of a head restraint. The idea is that it's there to stop your head moving, and hopefully you wouldn't have an accident, but if it did happen, it's there for the safety feature. So I am just going to check if we've got any comments coming through, because at the moment I can't see any, so I'd like to just be aware if I'm missing anything important. Hopefully this is all working well. Bear with me 1 second. I'll get that loading on there. So the next subject really that's important is to talk about carrying things, if you're carrying lots of things to or from wherever you're studying. Obviously, if you aren't carrying too much stuff, then actually having a little bit of weight that you're carrying around can actually be really helpful, because it can help strengthen the muscles and the joints around your spine, your hips, your legs as well. But if you are carrying lots of different things, then actually having a locker at the place where you're studying can be really helpful, so you're not having to take things to or from too frequently. And you can also make sure that you have a suitable bag, so using a rucksack where you've got 2 straps so the weight's evenly distributed on your shoulders, and also using a crossbody bag like a laptop or messenger bag, and also swapping the side that it's on. Quite often we have a natural tendency to have it one particular way, but actually swapping the sides so you don't have a dominant side can be really helpful. Just distribute the weight differently on different days. So do experiment with the bags as well. If you have a particular day where you're doing a project, or for some reason you have a lot of extra stuff to take in, then even using something like a wheeled suitcase or a box with wheels so that you're able to pull something along rather than physically carrying it can be really helpful. And of course, again, asking friends for help. If you're moving between different classrooms or lecture halls, then asking friends who are traveling in the same direction for help with carrying can be really helpful as well, and usually people are happy to help. And then the next big topic, really, this could be a topic all on its own, is talking about sitting. It's one of the most common things that I'm asked about when people are asking about managing their symptoms. A lot of people with Axial SpA find that sitting for long periods can be really uncomfortable. And even if it's comfortable at the time, often they find that then they're stiff and sore when they go to get up and move again. So obviously studying, there's a huge amount of sitting involved in this, and there's only so much we can do to reduce that. But actually one of the best things you can do is talking to your school or university about different chair options that you could use that should make things more comfortable. So making sure again that you've got a good support in your lower back, and it's quite a cushioned seat to sit on as well. It's much better than something like one of those hard plastic chairs that doesn't give much support or much cushioning. If they're unable to actually change the seat for you, you can always take a cushion with you, or even an inflatable cushion, so that between places you can just deflate it, put it in your bag, and it's really easy to carry. But you can use that either to sit on to cushion underneath your hips, and that helps particularly with the lower back, or you can have it behind your lower back as well, just to keep you a bit more upright and more comfortable. So do play around with different options like that. And then obviously moving regularly is one of the best things you can do for your back, one of the best things you can do for AxSpA in general. So when you're in classes, if your teachers are aware of your condition, they would normally be absolutely fine with you getting up and moving and stretching if you need to. If you feel self-conscious with this, then do sit at the back of the class so that you can do it without being seen by many people. And if that as well feels a little bit too much, or if it's just that things are generally feeling a bit stiff, you don't feel like you actually need to get up and move around, you can do some really gentle seated exercises, and I'll link to those in the video description. They can be really good, just some very simple exercises that are quite subtle as well, but they just help loosen up your back, help get your joints all moving, and keep things from stiffening up during a long period of time sitting, and can help you keep focused on whatever you're studying at the time. And then at home, you do have a little bit more control over your whole desk setup and your position and how much time you're spent sat. I have gone into a bit more detail in this in a working from home blog post, so again I'll link to that in the video description at the end. But looking at different seated positions and different seat options as well can be really helpful. So not only having a really good office style chair, so again, as I said, making sure it's cushioned and your back is well supported, but if you can get an inflatable Swiss ball or Pilates ball, and also find somewhere where you can work standing up, so for example at the kitchen counter or any kind of high workstation, if you have a few different seated options available, that means that you can cycle through them in the period of a day or a few hours, however long it is that you're studying. And so this means that you're actually going to be working different areas of your body and resting different areas of your body at different times, and it can make things a lot more comfortable. You can also use that in a way to actually help manage your AS long term. So for example, when you're standing or when you're on a Swiss ball, you can easily be moving your hips and moving your back, so you keep loosening up, and that actually is going to count towards your exercise for the day as well. And also, one of the biggest things when you get stuck into some work, it's really easy to just get focused on something and then realize you've been there for hours. So actually setting a timer for every 50 or 60 minutes can be really helpful, so that it just gives you that little reminder to get up, move around. If you can go to a window and look out at something further away, can be really helpful for your eyesight too. And not only physically is it good to get up and have a rest, but actually mentally as well. It's really good for your concentration and good for your fatigue as well. And it's a reminder to have a drink of water, have a snack if you need to, and it's just going to help all round in terms of your health and your concentration for studying as well. And then in terms of pacing, so again, this is a huge topic just on its own. I've gone into a bit more detail on the previous video and blog post all about fatigue, in terms of helping you pace and the whole theory of pacing. Generally, we use pacing to actually help stop us from doing too much in one go and then having to spend a lot of time resting and recovering afterwards. So you can look at this both in terms of physically doing too much, but also mentally as well. So in terms of physically, having regular breaks through the day to either sit and rest or lie down or do some gentle exercises is a really good way to pace yourself. And also speaking to your school or college or university to actually look at if there's a place where you can go that's quite quiet, that's available, where you can go and rest and have some time out if you need to. It can be really good either during break or lunchtime, but also if you are having a particularly bad day or a flare-up, having somewhere that you know you can just go to have a rest, have a break, and then sort of recover and feel a bit better can really help you pace your energy levels and your pain levels through the day as well. In terms of pacing your workload, so one of the best things you can do is to have a list written out of all the different tasks you've got, the different coursework and exams with the deadlines, so you're able to see exactly what's coming up and when. You then want to look at these and speak to your tutors and your teachers and look at ways that you can prioritise these tasks so you know which ones you need to be doing first. And then also break these tasks down into smaller, more manageable pieces so that gradually over the days you can just do little and often and work towards them gradually. This is really helpful so that then you're able to break them down so you're not going to be overwhelmed, but also you're able, if you do have a lower energy day or a higher pain day, you can look and just see if there are a few small tasks that you can do that are going to help you move towards your goal, but also without being overwhelmed and without overdoing it as well. And it can be really helpful to actually try to work towards goals and towards deadlines, but try and be a little bit ahead of the deadline as well. So if you're aiming for things to be ready a week or two early, it means that you've got that little bit of leeway if you do get an unexpected flare-up, or if anything happens, then you know you've got that buffer of time that actually gives you a little bit of time where you can just rest and recover and not worry about the deadline because you know that you're a little bit ahead. Obviously, schools generally will be quite accommodating in terms of extending deadlines if they need to, but just having that extra bit of buffer space is going to help reduce any stress and just plan ahead for any emergencies as well. So really this does all tie in, all the information I've said really ties into speaking to your educational institution. So whether that's school, college or university, it's really important that you do speak to them about your Axial SpA, even if you're feeling quite well and you don't feel like you need anything adjusted or any assistance from the school. If they know that you have this condition and they know generally how it affects you, if something did change in the future or if you had an unexpected flare-up, they're able to put in the help and the assistance really quickly rather than taking a little bit of time. So because the condition does affect people in different ways, it's essential that you do explain to them exactly how it affects you personally. We have put together a little prompt sheet, which we'll be publishing with the blog post. So I'll put the link in the video description when we've published that next week. But this prompt sheet is a way that you can help brainstorm and look at how your Axial SpA affects you, how it affects your studying, and just to get some ideas of how you could maybe help make things a little bit easier with your studying and anything that you think your educational institution could do or put in place to help you with that as well. So that comes through on the first sheet and you can just get some ideas going through and just help clarify your thoughts. We've then included a sheet that you can give to your educational institution or to individual teachers that explains exactly what Axial SpA is. But as I said, it is important to then explain to them that it can affect you differently. So the information sheet is quite basic with that, and then you can elaborate it then when you're discussing it with them. And then on the third sheet we've provided, you can then use the thoughts that you formed on the first sheet and then put it down so you've got some really simple points that you know you want to communicate with your school, your college or your university. So when you have a conversation with them, you know you've got all the information you need and you also are not going to forget anything, and it can just help prompt that discussion and make it a bit more manageable as well. So do speak to them because legally with Axial SpA, it is a condition that schools will have to adapt things to if you do need them to. So it's really important you do speak to them. Tying in with this, making sure that you've got your healthcare team around you who you really trust and work well with. They can help you speak to your schools. They can provide supporting documentation if you want. And they can also refer you on to like a physiotherapist or occupational therapist to help you look at how your Axial SpA affects you and whether you need to do anything differently while you're studying to help manage the condition and help limit the effect that it has on your studying. And do discuss your plans with them well ahead, because especially if you're moving away for college or for university, your healthcare team will be able to decide what to put in place to help support you through that. And also if you're moving away, they'll be able to discuss what options there are for your ongoing care. So for example, some people would prefer to be registered with their original hospital. Some people, if they're going to be away for long periods of time, they'd rather change hospitals. So your doctor's able to discuss that with you and find what's going to work best for you individually. And then obviously managing your Axial SpA is really important, and if you are moving away to college or university or leaving home for the first time, it's really important to help manage your condition as well as you can do. We've put together lots of resources on our new My AS My Life page. So I've put a link in the video description to that page. So do have a look at all the different topics we have. We've covered lots of different things, and we've got a few more things planned coming up as well. So the aim is just to give you as much information as we can so you can help manage your AS long term, but manage it yourself, manage it at home, and you're able to control the condition more and be able to achieve what you want to. So we'll also put in the video description some links to further support. So we've got previous blog posts on AS1 all about the financial support, all about speaking to your institutions and what your rights are as well in terms of having a disability and studying. So I'll pop the links to that as well for some further reading and more of a step-by-step guide. You know that our next session is next week, next Wednesday, the 9th of September at 4 p.m. And that is with Ian Young, who is doing a somatics session. He runs the NASS Harrogate branch, but he's also a somatics teacher. He ran a taster session during the online members day this year, and we had some really great positive feedback from that. So we've got him joining us next week for a whole session on his own to go through trying out somatics, give you a bit more information about it as well. So do join for that. But as always, it will remain on the page. So if you can't make that particular time, you can catch up later on as well. So I'll just have a look, see if we've got any questions. Don't think we have any questions so far, but what I will do is I'll pop back over the next few days and just check back for any comments. But if you want to get in contact with me individually or have a phone conversation for any sort of free personalised advice, do just drop me an email, zoe@nass.co.uk. But essentially, the biggest things really is to speak to your healthcare team, to speak to your educational institution, even when you're planning to possibly go somewhere, if you're applying to colleges and universities, speak to them ahead of time and look at what assistance they can offer you. And then use our prompt sheets that we'll be sharing next week to help you communicate with them as to what would be helpful for you. And then obviously the small changes that you can make can really make a big impact on your condition and help you study and achieve what you want to with this condition. So thank you everyone for joining. Do let me know if you have any questions or comments, and hopefully see you all next week for Ian's session, 4 p.m. next Wednesday as well. Thank you.